readers,
reviewers,
Bartholomew's,
lend us your ears.
And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars, Truth and Courage.
Hello and welcome today. I'm Will, this is my brother Ed, and today we're talking about our July TBR. We're into the second half of the year. Let's get it started in a great way, Ed. I've got some cracking reads, some rereads, some new reads. They're all looking to be stunning.
I hope they don't crack, Will, because you won't be able to read them then, would you?
No, but hopefully, it cracks my mind up a bit, because they're just so good. They need their own little section in my brain.
Young Mr. Baggins here. He's cracked. He's cracking. And proud of it. Anyway, Bartholomew will be reading The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. And Bartholomew
Can you explain
is
the Bartholomew joke?
Are you going to read it?
Night and the Moth? But you haven't read it yet. So
Bartholomew started reading it.
Okay.
Bartholomew knows what's going on in The Night and the Moth. I've started reading The Night and the Moth. I'm loving it so far, but I'm not going to spoil my review because that would, as I said, be spoiling it. Will.
That would be.
I will be reading The Night and the Moth. Sadie read this, absolutely loved it. Our friend Courtney from Flowers and Fantasy even sent a Bartholomew t-shirt to Sadie, so maybe I'll be wearing it actually in the next video. But I'm really, really enjoying it at the moment. It's great fun. I mean, it's labelled as a romantasy, but it doesn't feel like that at all. It just feels like a fairy tale-esque fantasy with gothic vibes. And I saw that Chris and Mads read it and absolutely loved this book. So for good reason. And obviously we always listen to our Rex as well. But I'm really enjoying it. Smitty loved this too. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what I think at the end. But it's a good one so far.
Very nice, Ed. And I'm going to be kicking off a reread The Winter King by Bernard Cornwell. I'm going to be listening to these via Audible for the first time. One of my favourite series ever. Historical fiction. Incredible. This is my go-to kind of Arthurian recommendation as well. Hopefully we will be talking to Tutor Ramble at some point soon about Enemy of God Book 2. So of course I've got to be prepared. So I'm starting the reread and I've got to freshen up my memory a bit. And I think I'll like it even more the second time round.
Well, I've got a question. Who would win in a duel? You or Austin from Tutor Ramble?
Oh, that is hard. He might say something about Enemy of God if he doesn't like it. That will send me into a rage and then open up a weakness.
If you told Austin you didn't enjoy Red Rising, then he would be in a similar...
But obviously I really enjoy Red Rising, so let's just put that to bed straight away. I don't want to be scared when we go into
You
this
want to put
chat.
Austin to bed? If that's what
I
you
meant
do
Red
in
Rising.
spare time, that's up to you.
Well, we can put Red Rising to bed. But anyway, that's The Winter King. That's why I'm rereading it. And hopefully we'll be talking to Tutor Ramble soon.
I recently finished reading Buffalo Hunter Hunter, and he himself, Stephen Graham Jones...
I'm so glad you listened to my recommendation and picked that up.
That's enough about that. I did listen to Will, and Stephen Graham Jones himself said the best vampire book he's ever read is Christopher Buehlman's The Lesser Dead. So I'm going to read it, and I'm in a proper Christopher Buehlman mood. I've been listening to his interviews about The Daughter's War. I really want to reread The Daughter's War and The Black Tongue Thief and Between Two Fires. But I thought, you know what? I'm gonna read something new by him, and The Lesser Dead is meant to be one of his best works. I mean, I think he's an author that will just land with me every single time. He's like a really reliable pilot, just always grounding.
Nice.
So The Lesser Dead is meant to be a vampire story set in the 1970s in, I believe, New York City. And it is meant to kind of subvert some vampiric takes, but also play into some of the main strengths of the vampiric tropes as well.
Very nice.
Vampiric is a great word, and I'm going to use it as much as I can. But I just know that Christopher Buehlman is a writer who studies his craft. He doesn't just kind of churn out things. I was listening to his interview with Fanfi Addict on Fanfi Addict's channel with Adrian and MJ Kuhn as well, which was great. Go check it out. I'll link it up there. Buehlman's an author who doesn't churn out books for the sake of it. He's someone who really thinks about his craft, and I love that about his style of storytelling. So I just know this is going to land with me as well.
After Ed has sunk his teeth into that, I will be picking up The Crossing by Cormac McCarthy, book 2 of the Border trilogy. So I've read all the Pretty Horses in June, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was fantastic. A lot more sentimental than I was expecting, but still not much hope, but still something to strive for, which is very nice. And so book 2 of the Border trilogy is The Crossing. And so Ed, is it similar thematically?
Well, the crossing is the story of 3 crossings, really. One of them is the crossing of borders from one country to another. Another is a crossing into adulthood. And then the last is the crossing from life to death.
So, pretty aptly named, then.
Yes.
Very nice. So, the crossing proclaimed by Ed to contain Cormac McCarthy's greatest writing, specifically the first third, the first part
really
of the story.
Now that
So,
we're actually about to read it.
I'm scared as well because that's really raised my expectations. And so, I do trust you, Ed, and I think I will love this. But still, there's a little bit of wariness, you know. But I won't let that detract me from picking it up. No. I'll be picking it up in July.
Just know it's better than The Passenger.
And finally, I can, I did enjoy The Passenger, but I do hope this is better. Because obviously you always want your new favourite read. Yes. And finally, I'm catching up a bit with your Cormac McCarthy reads, Ed, because I introduced you to him. You've overtaken me. Hopefully we can become level.
Yeah, the good
again
handshake
soon.
when we met,
Yeah. So that is The Crossing by Cormac McCarthy.
Very nice. And the next one for me is going to be a new release. It's Philip Chaser, Dr. Fantasy.
Can I join this bandwagon as well,
You
please?
can join the bandwagon if you want to, Will, and you should, because it is When Darkness Gathers by Dr. Fantasy himself. This is a standalone book that is set after the Adan trilogy, and I, for one, am incredibly excited. The Adan trilogy is one of my favourite fantasy series out there. Book 3 just blew my socks off.
Oh, so good.
It was incredible.
It left your feet cold, didn't it?
It really did. The double ending just
there's no blankets around.
Me, there was no blankets at all, and one of those blankets that is just too small for your body, so you pull it up and your feet are cold, and you yank it down and your arms and your body is cold.
So Poet Society.
Oh captain, my captain. But I am very, very much excited to read When Darkness Gathers.
So am I, because Dr. Fantasy, he can't miss, can he? The Adan trilogy, fantastic. It matches the vibe of classic fantasy with modern and takes the best bits from both, in my opinion, somehow combines them in a way which isn't jarring. Yeah. In a way which felt quite nostalgic.
Organic and natural.
It's taking the words out of my mouth.
It's a pestle and mortar.
But anyway, really looking forward to it. And next up for me is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This is one of my most anticipated series.
This is one of the books ever.
This is one of the books. So I'm actually probably going to finish Jade War today, and that has been great. A big step up, in my opinion, from Jade City. For me, I really enjoyed the second half of Jade City, but the first half took a while to get into, to sink into. You think it was a vampire story. A vampire who wasn't doing a great job. But Jade War, Book 2, I enjoyed a lot more. And so Jade Legacy, the finale, I've heard it's big, it's bold, it makes some very standout decisions which will either click with you or you'll hate,
is what I'd say.
So it's quite divisive, but I'm kind of excited for that, you know, pushing fantasy, that's what we love to see, pushing the boundaries out. And Jade Legacy, you said it clicked with you, and usually bold decisions that Ed enjoys, I enjoy as well. And so Ed was my guinea pig, he loved it. It's kind of pushed my nerves down a bit, and I cannot wait to dive into Jade Legacy.
I don't mind being a guinea pig whatsoever, but it's a great read, Will, and I think you're going to get a lot out of it. There are some of the boldest decisions in fantasy that I've read for a very, very long time. The next one for me is talking about someone who's very, very bold, is Godsgrave. Now, this is book 2 of the Nevernight trilogy, and I've heard that this is one of Jay Kristoff's best books. This is meant to be, I think, widely regarded as the best book of this trilogy.
Wow.
I cannot wait to read this. I absolutely adored Nevernight, and I don't know why it's taken me so long to get around to reading.
I thought you'd actually read it already.
No, I'm. We'll talk a little bit later, because I would like some support with you guys. If you could help me choose another read for this month, because I do have a Patreon pick, but also I have space on my TBR for one more book, but I'm not sure what to choose. We'll talk about it later. But Godsgrave, I'm very much excited to read this. As I said, it's meant to be his best book. It does have, I believe, a gladiator sequence, so I'm very excited to read that. I think that's something I will always enjoy.
Very nice.
But yeah, I need to binge this trilogy.
Very good, Ed. And the next up, I've got a titan of fantasy. I did talk about it in June, so I didn't have time because Cormac McCarthy took over. So I have got The Will of the Many by James Islington.
Long-winded over here, Will. Come on.
Sorry. But anyway, The Will of the Many, book 1 of the hierarchy, a sensation of fantasy over the last few years, and I cannot wait to dive in. The Strength of the Few coming out in October or November?
November.
One of the two. November. And so I really need to get a move on and, jump on the bandwagon.
Time is ticking.
Time is ticking, and I'm really looking forward to reading The Will of the Many. Although, ordered this edition, and it's got the smallest text I've ever seen, and so I'm going to have to buy the Kindle
What
edition
is that
as well.
about?
Because my eyes cannot take that.
I promise I've seen ants bigger than that. That's actually mental.
I actually have as well.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's not on really. I'm quite upset. But anyway, at least I can have The Will of the Many on the shelf.
Forgot there's someone called Calidus in it.
Ed,
How do you feel
don't
about that?
scroll to the last page. Ed, if I've loved a book, often to annoy me, I'll say, Ed, you should read this, and he'll pick it up and he'll scroll to the last page and he'll say, I've read that now, so I don't need to read it. So that's a bit of book sacrilege everyone should know about. But The Will of the Many, I won't carry on because I already talked about it in June.
That's enough, Will. I will also be reading Sudden Death by Alvaro Enrigue, and this is a book by an author who I recently finished another book by. So I recently read Alvaro Enrigue's book, You Dreamed of Empires. Absolutely loved it, adored it. It was just crazy, wacky. It reminded me of the film Sinners, like William is sporting the t-shirt there, and I just have to read more by him. So I'm going to go to a previous book. I think his only other book that's been translated into English is Sudden Death. Now this kind of is a pestle and mortar of everything I love. It is history here, so we have again characters of Cortez and Malina, which is Cortez's translator, who was a princess as well, in 16th century Mexico. But we also have in Europe, Caravaggio, the Italian artist, is playing a game of tennis against the Spanish poet Quevedo. So there's a game of tennis going on.
We love tennis.
With chapters, I believe, with Cortez going through the Aztec Empire.
Not the combination I was expecting.
No, and if I read this premise before I read You Dreamed of Empires, I would have been like, I'm not reading that whatsoever. Thank you. But I trust Alvaro Enrique with my life, and what he did
for one book.
No, what he did in You Dreamed of Empires, I don't think will ever be done again. And there's a scene in that book that reminds me of that scene in Sinners. And after seeing his delivery in there, like, you have to trust him.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to read this. It's just something that's meant to be crazy, and I'm up for a crazy read. So Sudden Death, it has tennis, it has history, it has the Aztec Empire, and it has Caravaggio, one of my favourite Italian painters. So
there you go.
Very excited.
Name three
Italian painters.
Painters, yeah.
Obviously Caravaggio,
Mm-hmm.
Piero della Francesca.
Very nice pronunciation, Ed.
Thank you. Raphael. There was someone called, I think, Correggio, which was a similar style as Caravaggio. But yeah.
Anyway, moving on from Italian artists, we're moving to another blue book.
I'm glad I had
There's a lot of blue
answers
books
up my sleeve.
I mean, Ed, I did put you on the spot there.
Thank you.
Although maybe you looked it up. I don't know.
Yes,
anyway,
maybe.
Unbound by Michael Miller, Book 2 of the Songs of Chaos series. This is the sequel to Ascendant, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Originally, the first few chapters, it seemed like really great classic nostalgic fantasy. But then it grew a really strong identity of its own. I felt the nuance, I felt the strong characters, the great dynamic with your central trio, and it became unique. It wasn't just bathing in old ponds of old fantasy.
Wow.
It was unique, and it's something that I would still recommend to those that are looking for some nostalgic fantasy. And I'm looking forward to reading Book 2, which almost unanimously is preferred by those who enjoyed Book 1. And so I'm very excited. I will be listening to this. The audiobook narrator was great. Michael Miller's writing style really translates well to audio. Yeah. And I think his prose is very smooth and very nice to read as well. Very nice. And so I'm really looking forward to picking up Unbound. Dragons with fantasy, with a bit of a classical nostalgic edge. What more can you ask for?
Very nice. And my Patreon pick of the month is, when I last checked, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This is a new vampire story. And of course, you guys know it is the year of the vampire for me. They're coming back into fashion, aren't they?
They are.
So that is going to be my next pick. I believe it is about vampires, that is all I know. Apart
That's all you
from
need.
I know that the ending is quite divisive.
Okay.
So that is it. But yeah, thank you to our lovely Patreon
I did see
voters.
V. Schwab sign like 130,000 M papers. It was mental. I think
Wow.
it took her like 100 days. It's crazy.
That is a lot.
Anyway, next up for me is a novella which is being published in July, and that is Dreams of Chaos by Shauna Lawless. This is the third novella, and I'm not sure when this is set. Is it a bridge between the last book and the new one?
I actually believe so. But I actually
That's
don't
what
know.
I believe as well, but I'm not 100% sure.
That would be cool.
All I know is we've read everything of hers up to date,
Yeah.
so we
Shauna
can
Lawless
definitely read Dreams of Chaos.
Yeah.
I've been talking about over the last year, so sorry for repeating myself, how Shauna Lawless just utilises novellas perfectly.
Yeah.
Her previous two novellas, Dreams of Sorrow, Dreams of Fire.
Good boy. Sorry.
I didn't enjoy that.
Sorry.
I didn't enjoy
Sorry,
that.
I slipped into
They were
Old
the
Ed
perfect balance of enriching the main series installments, but also having their own identity. Probably the only novellas where I loved new characters. Usually in novellas, you want to build on the characters in your main series and kind of... The new characters for that kind of just thrown in for the plot. Whereas I preferred some of the new characters. How crazy is that?
Yeah, I'm
A
with you
Certain
there.
Father I loved,
yeah.
and so that is really just strong writing from Shauna Lawless, and it's testament of her character craft in such a short page count.
I've
the
seen
novellas
some,
feel like they are needed.
I've seen some teasers about the next couple of books from Shauna Lawless on her TikTok.
Nice.
And yeah, it's made me excited.
Dreams
Made
of
me
the
excited.
Other World.
Yes, exactly.
Great name for the sequel series.
Yeah,
Well,
it
book
really
one
is.
of the sequel series.
It is.
And so really looking forward to reading Dreams of Chaos, and that will carry me through to when I pick up Dreams of the Other World.
Very nice, and I will also be reading that. But now I have one more space in my TBR, so I need you guys to comment below. What do you think I should read? Should it be The Nightingale, which I believe I have here, by Christian Hannah?
Vote the Nightingale!
Or should I carry on Jay Kristoff? Should I read both books in of the last two books of the Nevernight trilogy as well, which is Dark Dawn, I believe.
Because you're
Or-
definitely reading Godsgrave.
Yeah. Or should I read Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones, who's
Okay.
I recently read his Buffalo Hunter Hunter. I loved it. This is his werewolf book. So what shall I read? Please let me know in the comments below. Vote, and then I'll add them up at some point.
So the one the most tally will get picked
That
up.
is usually how voting works.
I just wonder if if you thought, oh, you know what?
Whatever the people want to
I
see,
wanna do the opposite
I'm
of what
going
they
to
ask.
not read that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a man of the people. What can I say?
Look at you go, Ed. You are a kind man.
That
A
is
generous
me,
man.
done and dusted, lemon and custard.
And that is me as well. We've both got our desserts served. We're ready to dive into them in July.
game,
and we need
set,
desserts for a very hot month that is looking to be.
Well, what do you know what the dessert of July is?
I do not, Ed. Do you?
Strawberries and cream.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Actually, I
Wimbledon
do.
time.
It is Wimbledon time, and so we'll be playing some tennis. Not quite up to Wimbledon scratch, but we'll pretend it is.
Yeah.
We'll be reading a lot, hopefully, and let us know what you'll be reading. We cannot wait to pick up so many of these. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you back on the channel at some point soon. Vote for Ed's read, and Truth and Courage.
Truth and Courage, the Brothers Gwynne.
The Brothers Gwynne.